لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا نور يا قدوس، يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك، وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته، وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك، وخفي مكرك، وظهر أمرك، وغلب قهرك، وجرت قدرتك، ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا، ولا لقبائحي ساترا، ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي، ظلمت نفسي، ظلمت نفسي، وتجرأت بجهلي، وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي، كم من قبيح سترته، وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته، وكم من عثار وقيته، وكم من مكروه دفعته، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي، وأفرط بي سوء حالي، وقصرت بي أعمالي، وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي يا سيدي. فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي، ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي، وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي، من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك. فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا، مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا، مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري، غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري، وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شدي وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني، ورقة جلدي، ودقة عظمي. يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعدما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك، هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته، أو تبعد من أدنيته، أو تشرد من آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة، وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب. وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثه، يسير بقاؤه، قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي، فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين؟ يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أضج وأبكي؟ لأليم العذاب وشدته، أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين. ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي، فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تجزره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات، ما ذلك الظن بك، ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع، لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما. لكنك تقدست أسماؤك، أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا، وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما. أمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها، وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها، وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته، وكل ذنب أذنبته، وكل قبيح أسررته، وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته، أو إحسان فضلته، أو بر نشرته، أو رزق بسطته، أو ذنب تغفره، أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة، وبخدمتك موصولة، وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. قو على خدمتك جوارحي، واشتد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أصرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبارزين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده، ومن كادني فكده، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك. وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقم، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Please one Surah Fatiha, 3 times Surah Ikhlas for the marhumin of tonight's sponsors. Shams Rizvi bint Sayyid Muhammad Ali Musavi, Bilqis Taqi bint Sayyid Muhammad Ali Musavi, all of our marhumin, all those who are in need of dua. Surah Al-Fatiha. There's also a request for one more Surah Fatiha for Sayyid Baqir Jafari, who was buried today in Bihisht Zahra, I believe, in New Jersey. If we can recite one Surah Fatiha for the marhum as well, and those who get a chance tonight, if they can recite Salat al-Wahshat for Sayyid Baqir Jafari. Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب إله العالمين وبالقاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا حييتم بالتحية فحيوا بأحسن منها أو ردوها إن الله كان على كل شيء حسيبا. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Your second salawat for love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And your loudest salawat for the hastening of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Allahumma salli Muhammad. Thank you. I was worried I had to get the stick on that one. It was not going so well with the... But it's okay. It's February. I understand everybody's tired. In our discussion around fiqh, and we've been talking about the fiqh of salat, we've completed the 11 parts of salat that are mandatory for salat to be complete, including the arkan and those elements which are part of the salat, but if they were to be missed, your salat could still be correct. The element we mentioned tonight is the one that is mustahab, but very highly recommended to be included in salat that we haven't mentioned yet, which is, who knows it? Come on. It's a good thing to do. Someone's making the motion, but they won't say it. Say it. Qunut, thank you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. I'm going to keep asking questions until you guys wake up, okay? Every salat, it is mustahab to perform qunut, and there are some salawat, some prayers that it's mustahab to perform more than one qunut. In every salat, with the exception of one, there's only one salat where the istihbab of qunut is not proven. Still good to do, but it's not proven. Every other salat, qunut is mustahab, is good to do, though not wajib to be performed. The prayers where it's recommended to do qunut more than once include, for example, salatul ayat, salat of Eid, and the one that we do every week, salat al-Jum'ah. Very good. These three have where it is mustahab to do more than one qunut within the salat. There is only one prayer where it is not written to be mustahab to perform qunut. Can anyone guess which one? Wait, some are saying it, some are not. Wait, what? Shaf. Very good. Shaf. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ma salli ala Muhammad. Let me explain. Salat al-Mayyit is an answer where it's a salat where we don't perform qunut in, but we don't do ruku and sajda in, so it doesn't fit the normal condition of salat. It's very interesting when it comes to Salat al-Mayyit, it's more of a dua that we perform for the marhum than it is a prayer. Notice the fact that there's no taharat in it as well either that's required for it to be performed. So it's something very unique that's called Salat al-Mayyit, but the kalimat is-salat is more appropriate to be seen as dua than it is to be seen as the prayer as we perform it. What's very interesting is salat by itself means to pray like dua, and in the history of Islam, the use of the term is something that changes with the advent of Islam. When our Prophet uses the word salat, more often than not, he's referring to dua because that's how people of the time understood it to mean. But when our a'imma and going forward use the term salat in their hadith, they're specifically referring to prayer as we know it and it's performed today. So it was one of those terms that had a history of a meaning prior to Islam, and with the advent of Islam, it developed a new meaning and a new interpretation, a new usage. That point to the side, going back to our topic of discussion, Shaf, which is the 2 rakat prayer of Salat al-Layl. So Salat al-Layl considers of 11 rakat. 8 are the nawafil, so 4 2 rakat prayers of nawafil, 1 2 rakat prayer of Shaf, and a 1 rakat prayer of witr. This Shaf prayer, which is the 2 rakat, are even. So Shaf means even, witr means odd. The 2 rakat Shaf prayer, it does not have the istihbab of qunut in it. You can still perform it, and it should be performed with the intention of raja, with hope that Allah wants us to do this action. But it within itself is not mustahab to perform in the 2 rakat salat a qunut. One of the possible explanations of why is that Shaf and Witr can be prayed as 2 separate prayers, or they can be joined together to make one prayer. and where they make one prayer. After doing the tashahhud in the second rakat, I stand up and I do the one rakat of witr, and that's where I include the kunut, and the kunut of witr is recommended. There's even narrations say that the longer time you spend in the kunut in salatul witr, the shorter your time will be on the day of judgment answering to Allah for your deeds. It's very recommended to lengthen the kunut of salatul witr and to spend time in it, and to beseech Allah for yourself and for others who are in need of it. So, when it comes to kunut, it has a place in every prayer. In Jum'ah, there are two places for it, one in the first rakat, one in the second rakat. In the first rakat, we do it after we finish the surah, before we go to ruku', and in the second rakat, after ruku', it's mustahab to perform it there. In every other prayer, it is mustahab that in the second rakat, before going to ruku', one raises their hands, joins their fingers together, but can keep the thumbs apart. So there's no recommendation that the thumbs need to be joined as well too, but keep your thumbs apart, and that in that moment you look in the palm of your hands as you make your dua, and that this is the recommended position for doing kunut. If I choose to do it like this, it is permissible, but this is where the recommendation is that it should be done, and that it should be done in this fashion. If someone forgets kunut, and let's say the following three circumstances. One, I forgot kunut and I started to go to ruku'. The recommendation is stand back up, perform the kunut, and then go to ruku'. Let's say I'm in the condition of ruku', and then I remember that I didn't do kunut. It is mustahab that when I stand up and say, Sami Allahu liman hamida, then I do the kunut at that point in time. Let's say I didn't remember in ruku', I didn't remember after ruku', I remembered when I went into sajda, or I was going into sajda. I'm about to touch into sajda, and as I put my hands on the ground, at this point in time, the recommendation shifts from doing it now to doing it after we say our salam for the prayer. So what happens? I went into sajda and I realized, second rakat, I didn't do my kunut. No problem. When you finish your salam of the prayer, you raise your hands in dua, and you make dua of kunut, and it's entirely permissible and possible. A person can make any dua that they choose in kunut. The recommendation is that the du'as should be from the Ahlul Bayt, and as they have taught us, or from the verses of Quran that Allah has given us. The istihbab in the recommendation is the recitation of Dua-e-Faraj. Which Dua-e-Faraj am I talking about though? No. As a matter of fact, there is another dua that is also known as Dua-e-Faraj, which is the recommendation to be recited in kunut, that is called La ilaha illallahul halimul kareem, La ilaha illallahul aliyul azim. Subhanallahi rabbis samawati sab'i wal ardina sab'a ma fihinna ma bainahunna wa rabbul arshil azim. This dua is also known as Dua-e-Faraj. The translation of this dua is, there is no God but Allah, the forbearing, the generous. There is no God but Allah, the high, the great. I declare emphatically that Allah is free from imperfections, Lord of the seven skies and all that is in them, and all that is between them, and Lord of the great throne. All praises for Allah, Lord of the worlds. This dua is also known as Dua-e-Faraj. And this dua is also recommended to be recited, God forbid, should someone be in the state of death. And it's known as Dua-e-Faraj is because it relieves the pain of death, and it relieves the difficulty of death, and which is why the faraj is the relief from the pain of death. So it's recommended that this dua should even be recited by the one who is in the halat of ihtidar, who is about to die. That this dua is an important dua to recite, and which is why it is one of the duas that is known as Dua-e-Faraj. It's the faraj, the relief, the coming of the comfort from the pain and the difficulty of this life. And that's why it's recommended to be recited. Now there's something interesting about kunut that says that, before we get to that, I'll mention one other point. If you intentionally don't perform kunut where it's due, there's no performing of kunut after that. I can't make the decision that, no, I don't want to perform it, and then, no, I'll do it in the third rakat then, and change my mind. If I intentionally leave kunut from its place, it cannot be made up. But if I forget, then I go through the process of correcting and fixing it and putting it into my salat when it's unintentionally missed. If it's intentionally missed, that I don't want to perform it, and I say, nah, you know what, I'll change my mind, I'll perform it. In that condition, there is no going back for it and performing it. Now, two elements. One, it is mustahab and recommended to say the dhikr, the mention of Allah in kunut out loud. However, when someone is in jama'ah prayers, the imam should not be able to hear him. And in that condition, saying it's so loud that the imam hears it or that it can interfere with the imam is not recommended anymore. But individually, the prayers where it's emphasized to say out loud, Fajr, Jum'ah, Maghrib. Those prayers that are recited out loud, it is mustahab to say the dhikr of kunut out loud as well too. The other element which is interesting is that it is permissible to recite a kunut that is not in Arabic. However, it is not considered mujzi for the istihbab, meaning it's not considered mustahab to recite it not in the Arabic language. But you can. That if, for example, I wanted to recite a kunut and make a dua in my salat that is other than in the Arabic language, your salat would not be batil, but it would not fulfill the istihbab and the recommendation for doing the kunut. It's possible that someone can do Subhana Rabbiyal Azim wa bihamdi, Allah give me a Ferrari. I have now fulfilled the condition of the kunut in Arabic, because any dhikr is appropriate for the kunut. I can do Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah. The recommended dhikr is this Dua-e Faraj or any of the Rabbana du'as that we know from the Quran. And I can pair that with a dua that I want to make that may not be in Arabic, and this is permissible in the condition of kunut to make a dua that is not in the Arabic language, and it will not void your prayers. So in this way, kunut is from one of the mustahabbat. It is one of the recommended actions that we possess. It's something we should do, but it is not wajib to be done. Therefore, if it's missed in salat, salat is still valid, and that our salat is still complete. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All right. There's two things I want to cover. One is from our lessons of akhlaqiyat, from the message of the Holy Prophet, and it ties into the topic that I want to touch as well too, that this is our last meeting before the start of the month of Ramadan. And if that's the reason why you guys are low energy, it should be the other way around. Ramadan is coming, be high energy. But let's talk about first and foremost the topic of discussion tonight. We've been mentioning the hadith of the Holy Prophet where he says, لِلْمُسْلِمِ عَلَىٰ أَخِيهِ ثَلَاثُونَ حَقًّا لَا بَرَاءَةَ لَهُم مِّنْهَا إِلَّا بِأَدَاءِ أَوْ الْعَفْوِ. That on a believer, his brother has 30 rights, or a sister has 30 rights. And there is no escaping these rights and responsibilities except that you perform them or your brother excuses you from them. The one that we get to tonight is the 22nd of these rights, in which Allah says, or where our Prophet explains, he says, وَيُرُدَّ سَلَامُهُ, that it is the right of the brother that you reply to his salam. Now understand something, the replying of salam, and it's very interesting that the Prophet mentions it in this hadith of the right of the believer, because technically replying to a salam is wajib, it's mandatory. All these other points are akhlaqiyat, but here, the Prophet is saying the right of the believer is that you reply to his salam, even though it's wajib on us to do it. In Surah An-Nisa, the description of this, where the wujub can be said to come from, comes from the 4th chapter of the Holy Quran, the 86th verse of the Quran, which we recited to begin our discussion. وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُم بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنٍ مِّنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَىٰ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَسِيبًا. Allah in this verse, the 86th verse of the 4th chapter of the Holy Quran, gives a commandment. And when you are greeted with a greeting, greet with a better greeting than it or return it. And surely Allah takes account of all things. Allah in the Quran gives a commandment. وَإِذَا, and if, حُيِّيتُم, someone greets you. حُيِّيتُم comes from ahya, to bring someone to life and to greet them. If someone, حُيِّيتُم بِتَحِيَّةٍ, gives you a proper greeting that acknowledges you and addresses you, فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنٍ مِّنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّهَا. Allah replies and He says, if someone greets you, it is your obligation to reply to their greeting with better than it, or at the very least the same caliber of the greeting that is given to you. Which is why the wujub that we extract from this and the wujub that is established on us is if someone says to you, Salamu alaykum, the minimum reply that you have to give them is Salamu alaykum. So for example, if I'm in the condition of prayer and someone says salam to me, it is wajib on me to still answer, but the answer has to be exactly as the salam was given. So if someone says Salamu alaykum, and you're praying, you say Allahu Akbar, Assalamu alaikum, and you continue your prayers. You don't have to say Allahu Akbar first. I'm just implying that you were in a moment that you were saying Allahu Akbar. But that you finish a surah or wherever you are, Assalamu alaikum, and you continue. The greeting and the beauty of a greeting should be that we give a good greeting to a person and that the person replies at minimum in the same kind of greeting. But you'll see other people who say Assalamu alaikum and they say Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. This is answering better than what was given to you. And this is what the Quran is inviting us to do. Surah Nisa, 4th chapter, 86th verse. Or someone says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and we reply Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Or we go even further and we keep adding on du'as. The goal is, and that's it, when I do it, if my intention is this brings the pleasure of Allah and this is something that Allah likes for me to do, then Allah is the one who is saying, Inna Allah kana ala kulli shay'in hasiba. Allah is the one who takes account for and gives credit for everything that you do. That the reply that I give, if it's better than this person and this person doesn't acknowledge it, sometimes it happens, I gave a better reply, Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, wa khayr al-afiyah, and they keep going. You're like, man, wow, okay, that was amazing. I didn't deserve such a reply. They didn't give it because you deserved it. They gave it because Allah is the one who is watching this interaction and He's seeing the love that's reflected in the interaction. The giving of salam is something that Allah loves and promotes, which is why the instruction for it is in many places in the Quran. For example, there's another place. وَإِذَا جَاءَكَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِآيَاتِنَا فَقُلْ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ كَتَبَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَةِ. In Surah Al-An'am, in the 54th verse, Allah gives this injunction again, that if those who believe in our signs and communications come to you, say to them, Salamun alaykum. Allah is promoting this salam and this greeting of peace between the believers. And Allah continues and He says, Allah has written, Kataba Rabbukum ala nafsi. Allah has mandated upon Himself and ordained mercy from Himself for you for these actions. So it's something that brings about the mercy of Allah that Allah in the Quran talks about, which is why we see the Ahlul Bayt emphasizing this characteristic, where we see the statement of our Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ifsha'u salam sunnati wa raddu salam faridatun. Our Prophet would mandate and teach in his time that to start with the salam, to introduce the salam, to spread the salam is my sunnah, the Prophet would say. That it is my tradition that you should begin with salam. But the reply of it is something that is a farida, is mandatory upon all of you to perform and make sure that you perform it. This instruction of saying salam and introducing and beginning with salam is one of the most important and valuable elements that signifies and dignifies a Muslim amongst other people. The dignity of a Muslim tied to this salam is so extensive that Allah even gives the injunction when you don't even know if there's someone there or not. For example, in Surah An-Nur, verse 27, Allah has a conversation about entering the house of your relatives. In this, He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tudkhulul buyutan ghayra buyutikum hatta tasta'nisu wa tusallimu ala ahliha. Dhalikum khayrun lakum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Allah says, do not enter, O those of you who believe, do not enter houses other than your own houses until you have asked permission. And وَتُسَلِّمُ عَلَىٰ أَهْلِهَا, and send salam upon the people of that household. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. And that is better for you so that you may be mindful. Allah wants this attribute so much. Whenever you come to a house, and I can tell you right now, you get the label of being overly religious, but it's not a bad thing. You come to your friend's house, a Muslim friend's house. You enter their house, and they're like, come on in. When you enter that house, there's the person who's standing in front of you, and there may be others in this house. Say a salam that's out loud to the people of that household because Allah has given the injunction in the Quran. And I'm sure many people say, oh man, what kind of religious guy is this that came into my house? Wa alaikum salam, calm down, you don't need to be that religious. But the truth is, you're not doing it because of the deservingness of the person. You're doing it because it's something that's loved by Allah, which is why from the mustahabbat, even when you enter your own house, if nobody's there, say salam. It's something beloved. Allah says when you enter a house, enter with permission, enter with salam. So what do? We enter with salam. The beginning with this salam, the using of this salam is something very valuable, and it's something we should promote. Which is why our sixth Imam, Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salam, Salam lis-salami sab'una hasana. For the saying of salam, for the greeting of salam, there are 70 rewards, hasanat, good deeds. تسع وستون للمبتدئ وواحدة للراد. The Imam explains, he says, the engagement of salam between two people has 70 good deeds in the eyes of Allah. 69 of them go to the one who initiates, and one goes to the one who replies. Allah wants us to be the people who initiate. Where we see someone, we say salam to them, we engage with them. Our Prophet had a statement. He said, there are some actions I will do till the day I die. Till the day I die. I will eat with the poor. I will sit with the slaves. And I will say salam to the little children. Now understand something. Our Prophet, Rahmatul lil Alameen, wasn't just a young man when he makes this statement. He wasn't just someone who could do whatever he wanted to and people didn't pay attention to him. The whole world watched the example of Rasulullah as a mature man. When he becomes shaheed, he's 63. Our Prophet begins his dawr of government at the age of 53. For 10 years he runs a government. He says, even in that phase, I will do until the day I die, I will continue this practice of salam, not just on those who are mature or seniors or powerful or authorities, but even the little children, when I see them, I will make it a practice to ensure that I say salam to them. And our Aimma would explain that not just saying the salam, but even the reply of the salam is responsibility. Raddu salam mimma yadfa'ul bala. That goes so far as that giving of this and replying of this salam is one of the elements that takes away difficulties from your life. Make sure that you make it a practice of yours. Why is the Ahlul Bayt insisting on this? From the one element is creating the culture and the identity of Islam. That a Muslim in every culture, in every environment will stand out. And the brotherhood and the relationship between Muslimin will be clarified amongst all of society. That there is a difference in treatment when a Muslim approaches you and that they have a different right than the rest of society. As well as the fact that my akhlaq will be better than the rest of society because my engagement with society will be in matters of respect. And the reply to it will be respectful as well too. But the other reason that the Ahlul Bayt promote this is because it is one of the attributes of correcting the ego and the nafs of the individual and the self. We see Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, al-bukhlu bis-salami min al-kibr. That to be stingy with saying salam is from the signs of pride. Kibr is to have pride in yourself. Remember something, pride is shaitan's favorite attack. Shaitan fell from the grace in the eyes of Allah because of his pride. Because he thought himself better than Adam, so he refused Allah's command. Therefore, shaitan's favorite attack against humanity is what caused him to fall from grace, which is pride. And shaitan is constantly evoking our pride so that he can show that, Allah, you made me prostrate in front of this Adam, but this Adam is no better than me. He is subject to the same vanities and the same difficulties that I possess. So why should I have prostrated before him? One of the elements of Iman is the breaking of pride. And you know that my faith is strengthening when I can control my pride and my ego. Which is why the Imam is beginning with, and he's saying, al-bukhlu bis-salam. To be stingy with salam. Bukhl is to have stinginess. Is a sign of pride. Now think of it this way. Someone walks into the room and they don't acknowledge me. My reaction is not to acknowledge them. Why? Because I'm no less than this person. That's shaitan looking at me. That's shaitan trying to tell me that if they don't say salam to you, why do you have to step forward? Why do you have to lower your status in front of somebody else? Which is why these hadith that tell us about the importance of saying salam in every environment are Allah promoting in us the attribute to get away from this pride. And that's one of the most important elements that we want to develop within ourselves, that how much of this is pride in me that prevents me from engaging with someone in salam. And that pride doesn't end at simply, did I initiate the salam? There'll be times where you pretend you didn't hear the salam so that you don't have to be one of those who replies to it. Or you'll assume that, okay, somebody replied to it, then I don't have to, even though I possess the ability and the character. Why? It would reduce my status. Maybe he was saying salam to the children, he was saying salam to someone else, or she was saying salam to her friends. She wasn't talking to me. Why do I have to reply to this? And that's where, instead of looking at the intention of the other person, looking at the character of the other person, look at yourself. If I heard someone say salam, what's preventing me from replying to that salam? If this is a greeting that Allah loves, why is it that I'm not replying to it? Allah describes in the Quran that the greeting of the people of heaven will be salam. What if I'm not one of those people? What if I've demonstrated that in this life, that salam is away from me and therefore I stay away from it? Which is why there's a variety of stories and lessons from the Ahlul Bayt which discuss this exact concept. And I'll share 2 or 3 with them if you guys recite aloud, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Someone saw Amir al-Mu'mineen in his dawr of khilafat, meaning he's the authority of Islam in the city of Kufa. That as Imam Ali would walk through the streets, and Imam Ali would often walk through the streets of Kufa with the intention of helping people, paying attention to the markets, and correcting the etiquette of people. That someone who was watching the character of the Khalifa walking through the city saw a small child passing by, and Imam Ali turns to him and he says, Salaamu alaykum, to the small child. The man asks him, Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, meaning addressing him as the Khalifa. Oh Khalifa, you greet children first? You? Anta? You who are the one who is in charge of this entire government? Amir al-Mu'mineen replies, Inni akrahu an akuna min al-mutakabbirin. I hate for myself to be amongst those who are proud or arrogant. Therefore, even when I see a child and I see the opportunity, I say salam to him. That this attribute of saying salam and to the children, one of the reasons why the Prophet said, I will do this till the day I die. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I do this with the little children. Remember something, Amir al-Mu'mineen is known as Abul Aitam, the father of orphans. We all have this idea that we would like to care for orphans. We all have this idea we would like to be nice to those children who have no one to take care of them. Then why are you waiting for them to come to you? Amir al-Mu'mineen was the one who would go to them. That's how he built that relationship of love. You want children to love you, you want to have a relationship with children, acknowledge them, speak to them, show kindness to them. This was the attribute of the Ahlul Bayt. We see another of these stories from our 6th Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salam. A man walked into a room in which Imam Sadiq was seated with other people. The man came in and he said, Salaamu alaykum. Imam Sadiq replied, but the man next to him did not. The Imam turns to him and he says, لِمَاذَا لَمْ يُرَدُّ السَّلَامُ? Why didn't you reply to this salam? Why didn't you answer this individual's salam? He said, لَا يُرَدُّ السَّلَامُ إِلَّا الْمُتَكَبِّرُ. That the one, and the Imam gives him an admonishment, that the one who refuses to reply to a salam is an arrogant person. Wherever you hear the salam, make it your practice that you reply to it. Make it your practice that it is amongst your characteristics. Otherwise, you have a bigger fight inside of you that you're losing, and it's a warning to you that something's wrong. Which is why the Imam, it was sufficient. The hujjah and the authority of the ahkam was completed. That someone said salam, someone said alaykum salam. And we're done. The Imam goes out of his way to look at the person next to him and say to him, why didn't you say salam? Because his not replying, even though he didn't need to, was an indication of something that was wrong inside of himself that needed to be corrected. The same is true for us. That be careful. When I ignore these attributes, when I ignore these responsibilities, it's a sign that something's wrong and that I need to fix my attribute and I need to fix my characteristic. The final one that we'll mention from Abu Abdullah al-Husayn ibn Ali alayhi salam. The narration comes to us and says to us that Abu Abdullah, Imam Hussein, had the habit of initiating salam with everyone, even people who disliked him, including hypocrites, oppressors, and sinners. That regardless of whatever their issue was, even if they didn't like the Imam, he didn't only say salam to people that liked him. He said salam and initiated salam with everyone. When they asked him, because remember, in the time of the Imam, were those personalities who were trying to kill him, literally. Yet the Imam never changed his attribute of saying salam to them. So someone asks the Imam that why? This one, you say salam to him too? The Imam replies and he says, As-salam sunnatun lirrasulillah wa nahnu ahaqqu bis-sunan. The Imam gives a beautiful explanation. When someone says, even to the hypocrite you say salam, even to the one who sins you say salam, even to the one who is angry with you and shows animosity. Remember, one who shows animosity to Ahlul Bayt is a nasibi. In our fiqh today, our maraja explained to us, Anjas min al-qalb huwa nasib. The one who is even more najis than a dog is the one who has hatred towards Ahlul Bayt. Yet the Imam initiates salam. And when they say, why? The Imam replies, he says, salam is the sunnah of the Prophet, and we are more worthy of the sunnah of the Prophet than anyone else. Meaning you're saying salam to someone is not a reflection of their worthiness of the salam, of their attribute, of their status in society, of their integrity. You're saying salam to someone has no association with them at all. You're saying salam to someone is your connection to Rasulullah. And that, are you someone who possesses the sunnah of the Holy Prophet or not? Who cares who the person is in front of you? If the Prophet's sunnah was to say salam to even the children, then I will be one who is known amongst society as saying salam to people and engaging and initiating this attribute. This entire conversation, and alhamdulillah, sometimes the hikmah of Allah comes together, is coming together at the start of the month of Ramadan, of being careful of your arrogance, of being careful of your pride, of being conscious of your engaging with your community. Because one of the most difficult times on a community is the month of Ramadan. Everybody's hungry and angry. Everybody's going through caffeine withdrawal. And I don't care who you are, if I see you for 30 nights in a row, there's chances I'm going to find something about you I don't like. It's the truth, it's a fact. The more you spend time with people, the more you are likely to fight with them. Which is why my brother can do something and I'll be more angry at him, and then somebody else does the same thing and I'm like, it's okay. Why? Because I spend more time with him. And we're about to go through a phase of spending a lot more time with each other. The significance of paying attention to this element is do not take each other for granted. Do not be waiting that you need a referee to resolve the issues that come up between ourselves. How is it that we are asked in the mercy of Allah when we don't show mercy to each other? How can you expect that to happen? Be very conscious that this month of Ramadan that's coming upon us is a month of blessing. Even when I look at someone and I think of them as bala, Allah has put them here as a blessing. Take the blessing. Do not let the shortness of our tempers affect our relationships with each other. Be the sources of mercy amongst each other. And this comes in a bunch of different ways. One is to have that self-control. The same way I stop myself from eating, I stop myself from anger. I don't let myself get angry, even with the annoying habits of people cutting in line, for example, or of the annoying habits of telling the same story 30 times for 30 days. Do not lose your temper. Stay calm. Stay inviting. Imagine that you are, when you are in this place and you feel comfortable in this place, Allah has set before you a banquet. And if you are the people who Allah has given that banquet to, then every other person who comes here is your guest, that they have come to participate in a banquet laid out for you. Make sure that they feel welcome in this environment, that they feel supported in this environment. One of the stories that I tell very often is when I had been studying for about 5-6 years, I went to a masjid. I won't say which one because some of you may know where it is. I went in there in street clothes. I sat down and I prayed with them.
And after we did Assalamu alaikum, I turned to the right to shake this person's hand, they turned away from me. I turned to the left to shake this person's hand, they turned away from me. We recited ziyarat, I stood up, I looked around, I tried to do taqabbal Allah. No one came and accepted my greeting. No one acknowledged me. Then alhamdulillah, in 3 weeks, I was brought back to recite the Majlis of Imam Musa Kazim. In the same facility. Dressed like this. And man, you saw the old guys, the kids, the children, everyone wanted to talk to me. And I told them, I said, I was here 3 weeks ago. I sat amongst you. I prayed with you. And you refused to shake my hand. What kind of Islam is this? We're entering that phase in our community now. We're going to have many people. Sometimes we don't see them all year. They show up just for dinner and you're like, yeah, you came for dinner, huh? Why? They know which condition they're in. Why do I need to tell them that, oh, I'm paying attention to the bad things you're doing? Are they going to come back here? No. There'll be that once a year visitor. They'll show up, they'll do their thing, and they'll leave. There'll be people that will come to our community. Be the first ones to start salam with them. Engage them. Welcome them. But acknowledge something. Let me be very honest with you. We're all human beings. We all have bad days. We all have days that are difficult. And it can happen that with the best of intentions, one day just gets the best of you. And you get angry. You get upset. You decide, I'm not going to talk to this person, or you say something rude. What happens after that? My natural reaction is to justify myself. He should have known. Didn't he see how I came into the room? Didn't he see no one was giving me tea? Didn't he see? Why did he speak to me in this way? He deserved what I did to him. This justification is that nafs that I'm trying to control in the month of Ramadan coming out. Never ever think that if I've made a mistake, there's no coming back from it. The beauty of the mercy of maghfirah of Ramadan is that it is Allah who's opening the door for mercy for me, then am I taking that opportunity? If it happens, I get into a disagreement. If it happens, I get upset at somebody. Don't wait that they'll come to you to apologize. Don't delay for a moment. Whenever you have the opportunity, acknowledge and change yourself. If I can't change myself, if I can't seek forgiveness, if I can't forgive, then how can I expect Allah to forgive me? Why do I deserve a mercy that I've never manifested myself? This whole month is about the mercy of Allah and achieving the mercy of Allah, and we can never achieve the mercy of Allah until we reflect that value in our character. You can't get something you've never given. You can't ask for something that you've never practiced yourself. It's hypocrisy. That I had the chance to do good and I didn't do it, but now I want you to do good to me. Let's say this is crocodile tears. This means nothing to us. So which is why the 30 days of Ramadan is a blessing. It's a blessing that in the effort of being together, we get to grow as a person and grow as a person of faith. Don't grow just individually, where I say that I prayed more this year, I fasted more this year, I ate less this year, I did more tasbih this year. How did I treat other people? How did the community of Islam benefit by me being a Muslim this year? This is our time to show. And this is an opportunity for us to do it. Which is why even the advent of this month is something the Ahlul Bayt would promote. And we'll finish with this, with a hadith of our sixth Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salam. The sighting of the month, the moon of the month of Ramadan is from the mustahabbat. And it's one of the things that initiates the beginning of the month. And the night that the moon is to be seen, it's recommended to go outside to look for this moon. And when you see this moon, acknowledge that the rules of Allah on this earth have changed from this moment, and to make dua to Allah in this moment. There's a famous dua, and you can find it online, where the Imam begins and he says, when you see this moon, begin this month with the dua, Allahumma adkhilhu alayna bil amni wal imani was salami wal islam. That, oh Allah, bring us to this month with safety and faith and peace and the religion of Islam in our lives. Make sure that this month passes with good character. And which is why our fifth Imam will say, Ibtada'u shahrukum biqira'atil Qur'an. That as soon as this month begins, start the recitation of Quran. As soon as you find out it's the month of Ramadan, change everything. Bring everything forth in the Quran, because there is nothing like it in this month. And make sure it's a practice in this month, that every time that you have free time. And now, especially with these devices. By the way, these devices are not the same as holding a Quran in your hand. This device, you don't need wudu to touch this, by the way. I can read Quran on this without wudu. 100% I can. There's no problem with it. Because what? I'm touching the screen, I'm not touching the word of the Quran. But the same way that I have the flexibility to read Quran on this without wudu, I also have the limitations of the barakat that I get from not holding the Quran itself. Make it a practice. I have my own Quran, and it's one of the recommended, by the way, it's one of the mustahab things that you leave behind to your children is your copy of the Quran that's read after you. It's mustahab. It's one of the items of inheritance that's recommended for every Muslim to possess is a Quran that they recite. And as long as it's recited after they die, they get the thawab for it as well too. As well as it leaves a remainder in the family. One of the etiquettes of the culture of Muslimin, by the way, is that the tasbih and the Quran that's left behind from the elder is seen as a mark of the unity of the family, and it's a reminder of their good character in us, and it's something that we should continue to perpetuate in our households. That we have a tasbih that we utilize, we have a Quran that we utilize, and we continue to spread these in our families and we continue to grow them. So these are elements and opportunities that we have, especially in this month. And the discussion around salam, let's make it a habit that no one new comes to our center that isn't acknowledged. No one new comes to our center that isn't greeted with a proper greeting. No one old comes to our center except that they're acknowledged and appreciated as well too, regardless of whatever history they may have. We raise our hands again in dua. Nad'uka bismika al-azim al-a'zam al-a'azz al-ajall al-akram. 10 times we call out, Ya Allah, 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 Ya Mahmud bihaqqi Muhammad, Ya A'la bihaqqi Ali, Ya Fatir as-samawat bihaqqi Fatima, Ya Muhsin bihaqqi al-Hasan, Ya Qadim al-Ahsan bihaqqi al-Husayn. Oh Allah, accept this small ibadat from us. Ya Allah, give the thawab of this recitation to our marhumin and the marhumin of tonight's sponsors. Oh Allah, we have gathered here with hajat by the right of this Thursday night, by the right of the Quran and the Dua-e-Kumayl and the mention of Ahlul Bayt. Oh Allah, fulfill our hajat. Those amongst our family, our community that are suffering through sickness and disease, give shafa'ah to those who are sick in our community, our family, and the mu'mineen around the world. Those who are suffering through strife and insecurity, oh Allah, give aman to them wherever they may be. Oh Allah, protect our family and our lineage on the upright path of Islam. Hasten the reappearance of Sahibul Zaman. Make us and our families from the upright supporters of the Imam of our time. Entitle us the ziyarat of Ahlul Bayt in this world and the shafa of Ahlul Bayt in the hereafter. Once again, remembering the marhumin of tonight's sponsors, Shams Rizvi binti Sayyid Muhammad Ali Musavi, Bilqis Taqi binti Sayyid Muhammad Ali Musavi, our marhumin, all those who have passed away, 1 Surah Fatiha, 3 times Surah Ikhlas, with your loudest of salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. زيارة وارثة إن شاء الله. We're reciting ziyarat on our behalf, on behalf of our community, all those present, all those absent, our marhumin, all those in need of dua, kurbatan ilallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, ya Nabi Allah. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع الدين وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة حضرت علي أكبر. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة الشهداء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحبائه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأودائه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي تبتم وتابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة حضرت عباس. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوسيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوتهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. والحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، ومحمد بن علي باقر علم النبيين، وجعفر بن محمد الصادق، وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم، وعلي بن موسى الرضا، ومحمد بن علي الجواد، وعلي بن محمد الهادي، والحسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا ابن الحسن، يا صاحب العصر والزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك، وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، وجعلنا من أعوانك والأنصارك. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. All together. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي